I'm Colt Stevens from C. Stevens Gunworks. The following video you're going to see is an archive of my earlier work. Some of these earlier videos of mine have some great information that I really wanted to repost and preserve. So I hope you enjoy the content and I hope you learn something from this video. Today we're going to be reviewing the 590M Mossberg Shockwave, made by Mossberg OF & Sons. This is the 590 Shockwave, of course. This is the JIC model. This comes in the stainless steel Cerakote, as you see here. Kind of a gray finish, and Cerakote, the ceramic finish, of course. The feature of this one, the JIC model, is the marine tube that this comes in. Right there, you see it? JIC Shockwave. So it comes in a marine capable flotation tube that's made just for this. So that's the cool feature with this one. Now this is an unboxing and review, although it is unboxed already because I can't get it back in the tube. They make it extremely tight from the factory. So I'll play like it is fresh out of the tube. This is your information here. This is the Mossberg manufacturer part number 50656. If you're curious on this exact model, we'll go ahead and unbox and see what we have. You can see the cap there. Supposedly it floats. I've not tested it, but that's what it's made for, so I'd assume that's what it does. It does come with the cool strap on the outside here for carrying around. If we can get this out of here, we have two stickers, not just one. So if you want it for the sticker, you're getting twice the value here. You get a vertical and a oval sticker for Mossberg. You get a Mossberg branded lock right there. You get the Firearms manual and an ATF letter regarding this this firearm. It's not a shotgun because it's less than 18 inches. We'll touch upon that towards the end of the video about how you can actually acquire one of these. You've also got your warranty card in here, and I think that's about it for in here. I believe that's it for in here. I think the rest is just packing. These little round things, just like this one here. Get 4 in total. Yep, that's all there is. I'll go ahead and chunk this back in here. Be careful with those stickers. They do come a little bit mangled up depending on how they packed your box, so you just gotta be careful for that if you're repacking it. I'll just set them off to the side for right now. And we'll talk about the features you have on the Shockwave. Now this is more generalized, except for the Cerakote 590 Shockwaves are pretty much all the same except for the different calibers. The 12 gauge is scaled up. They make it in a 20 gauge and a 410 as far as I'm aware. We've had the 410. The 410 is a lot lighter. The 20 gauge is basically the same, just scaled down. The 12 gauge is of course a wider barrel versus the 20 gauge or the 410. 410 is pretty tiny compared to the 12 gauge. The 20 is medium sized as you would expect. So the features on this one. This is a 5+1 internal tube magazine. As you can see here, it runs the whole length of the barrel. This being a 14-inch barrel, you can't really fit any more than that. The 5+1 is for a 2 3/4. If you're using the short shells, the Gila mini shells, or I think Federal makes them now, the 1 3/4, you can probably fit more in there. You may have to use an adapter depending on which brand you use. But being that this is a Mossberg 590 as the base receiver, you can fit those adapters in here if you want to, if you need to for those. Standard pump action, you've got the button back here. And that's really all there is to this one for operation. You do have a manual safety right back here on the back at the top of the receiver. This is drilled into for a scope rail if you want to put one on here, and it does have the bead sight on the front as well if you want to pull that off and put like fiber optics or anything like that. You do have that ability. It does have a sling swivel up here and one on the grip back here, so you have 2 sling swivels if you want to put a sling on there. Doesn't come with one, but you can put one on there. After that, this is a heavy walled barrel, 3-inch chamber. Heavy walled if you're using steel shot or like really super heavy stuff like tungsten shot. I know you can get that nowadays. It won't dent up your barrel with it being heavy walled. It's gonna withstand that shock a lot better. 3-inch, you can shoot 1 3/4, 2 3/4, and 3-inch magnums if you want. I wouldn't recommend it because it's hard to hang on to. 2 3/4 was plenty enough for me, especially in a slug. But you do have the ability if you want to use this as a home defense weapon. So we'll touch upon what you might do with one of these as well later in the video. This is a cylinder bore, and you do not have the ability to use chokes on this one. It is not removable choke on that one. You don't have the ability to make it modified or improved or full choke if you want. This is fixed cylinder bore. Cerakote stainless steel. It's not really stainless, it's just look-alike. The Cerakote is good. You'll notice on the inside it kind of wears off over a little bit of time. We do apply Cerakote as well in store. Our turnaround time is usually a couple weeks. In this scenario, being that this is the JIC, this is of course for marine use in the tube, probably will withstand salt water a little better. But if you notice on here, this is uncoated on the inside, so that will still rust. So you need to keep the inside very well lubricated if you're going to do something like marine time use. Like if you're on a boat, for instance, that salt water is going to start activating the rust really quick. So you need to keep a pretty watchful eye on these, even though it's Cerakote and it's supposedly rust resistant. It's not actual stainless steel, it's still just regular carbon steel underneath. So it will very much rust in places that are not coated. And even it will if the finish is rubbed off, so do be aware of that. So moving on, the Raptor grip. So they call this the Raptor grip here. That's part of the legal shenanigans that they got going on with this one. Can't have a full stock. You can have a brace, and I think there's a couple companies that make braces for these. I'm not sure the ins and outs of those, that's different, but depending on the brand. But they do make those if you go look for aftermarket braces for the Shockwave. And they call this the Cob Forend right here. You got the ribs right here, and this one does have the shock, the sling right around here, so you can get a little bit better ergonomics going on that. Just hang on to, because it's hard to hang on to. So it weighs in at 5.3 pounds overall and has an overall length of 26.37 inches. Pretty short. You're not going to get a shorter shotgun than this if you don't want to go the tech stamp route. But of course that also runs into the problem of being too short. That's less effective the less length barrel you have. 14 inches in a shotgun is going to have quite a spread. Much shorter than that, you're starting to be ineffective. So, depending on what your ideal use is for this, a lot of people come out of the store nowadays and they're like, oh, well, I need a pump shotgun because that's the only thing that I can use for home defense. Much longer than this, you lose the practicality of a shotgun, but also shorter than this, your spread's going to be too large to do anything effective with it. If you're talking about in the hallway, the short barrel is nice because you're not going to be running into walls. I mean, you got this much distance pretty much. But if you're talking 20 feet away, I mean, you're going to have big spread, depending on the shot, of course. Slug, not too bad. If you use rifled slugs, you'll probably be okay. But it's not going to have as much velocity as like an 18-inch or longer, of course. That's that dwell time in the barrel. But for a compromise between length and velocity, I would say this is pretty much the ideal. 14-inch, 18-inch, there's not a whole lot of difference except for maneuverability in a hallway. And that's where this one would outshine the 18-inch. The 18-inch would have just more velocity behind it. So it is an option. If you're coming into the store and you're like, well, I need a shotgun, this is more of your ideal for home defense. If you find one that's like 32 inches, there's no way you're going to maneuver that in a hallway, because that's more of a skeet gun or trap or clay or anything like that. That you need the distance, you need that velocity and that spread to be, velocity is high, spread is short, very tight group. And that comes back to there's no, it's fixed cylinder bore, so they don't have any chokes because the spread's pretty much awful anyway, so you can't do a whole lot with that. Pretty much the only grouping control you're going to have is in the ammo you pick, whether it's going to be number 8, 6.4, double-aught buck, or slug, and anywhere in between. Number 8 is going to be pretty much your target load. Number 4, getting better, double-aught buck, more of a home defense. Slug is absolute, and you can hunt with that as well, depending on the laws here. I'm not sure the specifics on hunting with a firearm, not a shotgun, but I know for most shotgun hunting requirements, you do have to use slugs or buckshot. I think here is only slugs, but I'll have to look up on that. But from what I've heard, it's mostly slugs here. But of course, you do have the ability to use rifled slugs because it is fixed cylinder and 3-inch and non-rifled barrel. So that would be ideal if you're looking for a little more range out of this. So let's talk about how you get one of these. So in North Carolina, which is no different than federal law in this instance, you have to be 21 and a 6-month resident of the state. So to take one of these home, I have to see your driver's license, and you have to pass the next check, and you have to be a resident here for 6 months, which would be your driver's license. If you're under 21, you can't buy one of these. We can be given one, but I don't know if I do that, depending on the laws, because it's up in the air. It's a gray area, of course. They don't want to make it easy for you. Some of the modifications you can do kind of get even murkier. The braces, of course, for this they're legal for now. I don't know how long they'll do that. They overruled something that they had on the Origin 12. It was in the same classification as this, but it was like an AR style 12 gauge, I believe, the Origin shotgun with the brace, and they decided to just go back on that, even though it was the same configuration as this with a brace. So these could be eliminated overnight if they wanted to, just with a reclassification. But for now, they're legal if you want one. For this purpose, I mean, it does an excellent job, but just keep in mind at some point in the future, you may have to get a tax stamp, and that's not the worst thing. I mean, the Form 1 process is not too hard. If you want to get one of these, they probably won't grandfather them, but you can just apply for a Form 1, which is creation of an NFA item. Costs $200. Right now, I think e-file is like 30 days. So you can submit the application online for a Form 1 and turn this into a short barrel shotgun whenever you want. And at that point, you can put a real full shotgun stock on here and still have the short barrel. That's completely legal. The only thing with that is if you ever go out of state with it, they have to have a travel form. Then you have to carry the registration card on you at all times. Like you go out to the range, they can say, where's your card for this short barrel shotgun, just to make sure you pay the tax. So that's important to keep in mind on these. So in summary, 21 and a 6-month resident can take this home with a next check. concealed carry goes away with the next check, so you don't have to do that. If you're coming in from out of state, we have to ship it to you because you have to be a resident of your state for 6 months. Not all states will accept these. I know some places like the Northeast, California, they don't like these. There's a couple other states that have gone away with these as well. So, I think that's everything I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Check the link in the description, and please like and subscribe.